Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to install the School Analytics free version that you have hopefully just downloaded. When it's delivered, School Analytics free is basically delivered as two separate files. I've put them in a little subdirectory here on the desktop. You'll put them wherever is suitable for yourself. But it's two files. The first file is the actual Power BI report, School Analytics free. And the second file is the report definition file. And if you're a Sims user, this is the file that you need to import into Sims so that we can run the report that provides the data for the actual Power BI report. So it's this file, the report definition file, that we're going to concentrate on first. Now I've already loaded Sims down here. So I'll go into Sims. I've gone into Sims here as a normal admin user. You don't need any especially high privileges to import the reports into Sims. But you'll certainly need more than, say, an average teaching assistant would be given in Sims. As long as you've got admin or senior manager access, you should be just about fine. We're going to import the report. So I'm going to go up to Reports and then Import. Then I need to navigate to the location for the file that, in my case, is on my desktop. So I'll just navigate to that location. And there's the report definition file that it's found there. So I'll just open that one. And at the moment, you'll notice that the status there of the report, there's only one report in this report definition file. It's called SA, short for School Analytics, Pupil Details Free. Status is currently pending, but as soon as I click the import button, that should go to imported. So now when I go through the list of reports that I can see when I go into the Sims reporting engine, there'll be an extra one called this. So the next thing to do, therefore, is to go in to the Sims reporting engine via reports, and then we're going to go in. We could run it through run report, but I recommend you go in through design report because we need to make a change to that report. So I'll go in first of all to design report. Click on open an existing report. And you should now find that in the list of reports that you have an extra report now called SA Pupil Details Free. You may have to go into Focus, Students, and look for it in this longer list under Focus Students. But again, you should see that there is a report called SA Pupil Details Free. I've got two there because I already had one and I've just imported another one. But the one you've just imported, importantly, is read only, and we need to make some changes to it. So open up your new report, just a double click there, and go to Save As. You won't have the option to save. It's grayed out because, like I say, this report is read only. So click on Save As and give it a name, and it'll have to be, or I recommend it's a name slightly different from the one that it has as a default. So I will just call mine PB, Pupil Details Free, short for Power BI. Make sure it's not ticked private there. We don't want it private. We want other people to be able to run this report if they need to. And click on OK. So now I am going to open that report. So if I go to Open, I'll not save the changes to the old report because I haven't made any. Let's go and open that new report. There it is. So this is the copy of the original report, and this one is read-writable to us. We can change some of the parameters in this report. There's only one parameter that we want to change on this report. I'm going to scroll down here and go to the default output option here. Click on that. And what you'll find is that on your report, you've inherited the same directory names as I had on my original PC when I was creating this Sims report. And of course, you probably won't have a directory called Sims data. I wouldn't recommend, even if you did, that you save the data to your local C drive. So we need to change this, and we need to change it so that it matches your directory structure and saves the output of this report, which is going to be a list of pupil names, basically in a CSV file format. So it saves it to one of your subdirectories. So have a think about that, because this is sensitive pupil information, so it needs to go to a drive that's protected by good passwords and a good network infrastructure. So if necessary, talk to your IT support team who can advise you on the best location for this. In the majority of cases, we'll save this to a drive that's maybe used by your senior management team or your teachers, and we'll avoid the drives that might be seen by pupils or perhaps non-contracted staff. So just change that. We just need to change that to browse. Now I'm going to use, as my example, I'm going to use this subdirectory that I put on my desktop. But again, yours will be a different one there. So just bear that in mind. I need to give it, however, the same name. So I'm going to call it pupil data extended .csv. And do remember to put the .csv in at the end there. I'll click on save now, and you should find that this path here updates to the new settings. And that's all we need to do. I'd recommend at this stage you press the save button so you've got a copy of that changed file location, and then you can either preview it just to look at the data before it goes out, or run it. I'm going to preview it just so you've got an idea of what the data actually looks like before we finally run it and create the CSV file. When we run it, it does allow us, if we want to supply a different effective date other than today's date. It's entirely up to you whether you use the date that's there supplied. You could change that date to be a date last year, but most of the time I just recommend that you click on bypass the effective date and use today. Click on OK. And away it goes. Might take 2 or 3 minutes to generate this report. It's doing quite a lot. It's working out attendance details and behaviour details, as well as just the standard core pupil data. But when it's finished, you should see something that looks like this, with the number of rows being the same number as the number of pupils in your school. It's 1 row per pupil. You can have a look across at this if you want, just to make sure that the data kind of makes sense. But this is the information that is going to be brought into the Power BI report. Once you're happy with that, you can press the run button finally, and that will actually create the CSV file. And as you can see, if you've already previewed it, it's very quick. In fact, it's instantaneous as it creates that CSV file. Usually, like I say though, this report shouldn't take longer than about 5 minutes to run. So you might need to be a little bit patient, but if it takes longer than 10 minutes, there might be an issue. But that's it. That's the data brought out of SIMS and put into a CSV file. This CSV file is next going to be picked up by the Power BI report and analysed. So one of the things you will probably want to do quite regularly, if you want the very latest information in your Power BI report, is rerun this report. So whenever you want to get the latest information into the Power BI report, the School Analytics Power BI report, you need to press the run button for this report. You don't have to preview it every time, just go straight to run. Okay, now we've created our CSV file with all our data in, let's actually open up the Power BI file itself called School Analytics Free. So I'm just going to double click on it here, which should load Microsoft Power BI. Be a little bit patient as it loads. These are sometimes quite big files, and it might take, depending on the power of your machine, it might take a minute or so to load. If your machine is going to be slow, it's only slow at this point. When you're actually using the analysis, the speeds are usually pretty good. But at load times like this, you can notice a bit of a delay, so be patient. And eventually when it's finished, you'll notice that it comes up looking like this. Now you'll notice straight away that this isn't your data. This is some test data that are preloaded into the reports. It's not our data because we haven't told Power BI where to look for our data yet. So that's what this next step does. I'm going to click on the button here that says Transform Data. If you click on Transform Data, it should load what's called the Power Query Editor. And this sits behind the scenes with Power BI and just handles the interface between your data files and between Power BI itself. And you should see an error message at this moment, because this is the point at which Power BI has looked behind the scenes, looked for the CSV file where it expects to find the CSV file, and doesn't. So it comes up with this error message. And you can see here from the text of the error message that this is where it was expecting to see it. But of course, it won't find anything when it looks there. So we need to tell it where to look. And we do that in a simple single step by clicking on Data Source Settings, this button here. And that comes up with this, which is the current path to what it thinks is the current data file. But we can highlight that and we can click on Change Source. And we can replace this part of the path with the real path. So I'm just going to click on Browse. And as we discussed earlier, you'll have saved this in a nice, secure shared area on your network drive. But I've just put it on my desktop in a folder called School Analytics. And there it is. There's the CSV file right there. So now what I'm going to do is click on Open there. You'll see that now it's updated this path to the correct one. I can click on OK. I can click on Close. And if I click on Refresh Preview now, the error message will disappear. And you'll notice here it's giving us a little preview of what's in that CSV file. And if I click on Close and Apply, the Power Query Editor will close and I will go back. And I go back to my original Power BI desktop. And this display will now refresh itself. You might have to wait a second before it spots that there's a new data file there. And now when it refreshes, now it will show your data.